Hello and welcome to Brewers Daily, part of the Fan Arch Podcast Network. This episode is brought to you by Kalshi. Use promo code FANARCHBASEBALL to get $10 when you trade 10. I'm Dave Gasper. Happy trade deadline day. There is still a lot going on, a lot to happen here as things are going to be coming down to the wire over the next couple of hours here. So I understand that some of the things that I talk about as I talk about them now, if you listen to this podcast or watch it a little bit later on, it may become irrelevant as the hours go along and things may change. But still, there's still a lot to get to as the situation is currently standing as I'm looking at it here doing this podcast. But the Brewers did make a trade over the weekend. We got to get into that. Also, another trade happened over the weekend as well. One that the Brewers did not make. We'll get into that. And just kind of what's left and what to expect here on the day. But the transaction the Brewers actually made and completed here. The Brewers made a trade with the Cleveland Guardians bright and early on Saturday morning. And the Brewers traded Craig Yoho and Blake Perkins to Cleveland in this deal. And this is not entirely surprising to me that these were two players that the Brewers were willing to move. Blake Perkins had definitely fallen out of favor with the Brewers in terms of roster construction. Pat Murphy, obviously, still a big fan, big supporter of his, but the way the outfield picture was lining up, there was really no room for Blake Perkins to get any sort of playing time. Brandon Lockridge coming back from the injured list also made Perkins basically expendable. And I think Perkins just kind of needed a fresh opportunity and a change of scenery to go someplace else. He had a really good run for a while there with the Brewers as a fourth outfielder, high floor defensive wizard out there, robbing home runs, things like that. But the bat had really struggled over the past year or so, and that just kind of put him in a really tough spot in a very competitive Brewers outfield. So he ends up getting the boot. Craig Yoho, I think, is the best player in this trade. And Yoho, I'm kind of disappointed in the Brewers giving up on Yoho so early. He's had such good numbers coming up throughout the minors. He has some really intriguing stuff that I think they didn't give him really the full opportunity to work through, the full opportunity to really see what he could do. I didn't think they put Yoho in the best position to succeed, and I think ultimately they viewed him as not being a possible long-term bullpen piece, and were just willing to move him while he was pitching largely well, because it seems like they feel that there is an inevitable regression that's going to be coming there with Yoho that they just, for whatever reason, did not really seem to want to work with and be able to continue to develop here. So he goes to Cleveland instead, and Cleveland also has a great reputation for pitching development. So I think Yoho's going to do pretty well over there in Cleveland. I'm happy for him that he's going to get that opportunity, but I'm very sad that he did not get that opportunity here with the Brewers. I think it would have been a great spot for him. I think he could have done really well with it, but the Brewers clearly were looking to go a different direction there when it comes to their bullpen, and were willing to move on from Craig Yoho, who, again, I believe ultimately is the best player in this deal. But who did the Brewers get back with sending out Craig Yoho and Blake Perkins? They get back Bo Naylor and Cody Hoyer in this deal. So Bo Naylor is a backup catcher who has spent the last couple of years in the big leagues. He's got 40 career home runs and about 1,000 at bats, but he hits for a low average. He's certainly a power over contact kind of guy. Career 199 hitter, hitting a .43 this year, and 84 at bats, negative 0.6 WAR on Baseball Reference this year. He's been sent down to the minors. That's where he spent the bulk of the season because he was hitting so poorly at the major league level. And for AAA this year for Cleveland, Naylor is hitting 225, 781 OPS, so not super great. down there as well, 7 home runs in 45 games. But Bo Naylor is basically a depth piece here at catcher. Jefferson Caro has missed the last couple of weeks behind the plate with some bicep soreness, so he's been DH only for the Nashville Sounds, and he still will be for another like 2 weeks or so. So Naylor kind of presents some extra insurance there at catcher in case a need arises in the short term here with Gary Sanchez or William Contreras. If there's some sort of injury to the catching group, that's where Naylor maybe could step in and be that guy, because Caro right now could not be behind the plate because of that arm issue. So that's where they wanted to get him some depth. He's controllable for another couple of years. So he's optioned to AAA Nashville, but it's kind of catching depth there. And then you also get Cody Hoyer, who is a journeyman reliever. I mean, he has played 4 years in the major leagues and he's played for 5 teams. I mean, he has just bounced around from team to team, not really being able to catch on anywhere really. And so that is it's like, okay, you get that for Craig Yoho. He's got a 4.66 ERA this year at the big leagues in 8 games. Not a large sample size. He's got 97 games in his career, 3.76 ERA. So overall, decent, but most of that was done in his rookie season in 2020, coming up with the White Sox, where he had a 1.52 ERA in 23 and 2/3 innings. Then White Sox, had an ERA over 5 with them the next year. Then goes to the Cubs and does pretty well, had a 3.14 ERA in 25 games. Then he missed all of 2022 with an injury. And then he doesn't make it back to the big leagues until last year, and he has an ERA over 5, nearly 6, across just a couple of innings there with Texas and Detroit, bouncing around, and then with Cleveland this year, only a handful of games. So, he really doesn't have a ton of MLB experience since 2021. I mean, he literally has just about, doing quick math here, 14 and a third innings at the major league level since 2021. With injury, pitching in the minors, things like that, he has been a quad A, up and down kind of reliever, and bouncing around from team to team. So this dude is a journeyman here at 30 years old as a reliever. So it's not really super exciting here with Cody Hoyer. Like the upside isn't really there. I mean, he's a middle reliever at best. So like you're not expecting much. It's just kind of another depth. Like I'd rather have Craig Yoho. Like I'd rather give Craig Yoho the opportunity in the Brewers bullpen to figure things out than Cody Hoyer being the option here. So the fact that this is kind of the switch, it's kind of puzzling on its own to me. I think there was initially thoughts here that, like, okay, you're trying to get Bo Naylor, getting that extra catcher. Maybe that means Gary Sanchez is going and getting flipped because the catching market is, so short on catchers and there's a lot of teams needing it. But from the sounds of it, Gary Sanchez is staying put. The Brewers are not actually looking to do that. Then you think, maybe they would trade Jefferson Caro in a large package, as a prospect for some big time pitcher. Hasn't happened as I'm seeing it at the moment. Now again, that could change very quickly here, just with the deadline coming up today. But that could potentially change, and I don't know, but it is like swapping depth for depth, and the Brewers are swapping guys who were on their big league roster providing depth to guys that were on Cleveland's AAA roster providing depth. So it's kind of a puzzling trade on its own, and I don't see where the Brewers got better in this trade. I think losing Yoho there and swapping him for Hoyer, I think that's probably worse in my opinion. And Naylor for Perk, I mean, it's 2 guys who don't hit and are basically AAA players at the moment. So it's kind of a wash there. You get some extra insurance at catcher, but like okay. Again, I don't see how this trade makes the Brewers better. I don't see how this sets them up for a World Series run at all. I don't think it's going to have any sort of impact on that. It was just kind of a depth trade. So, the Brewers are going to still have plenty more to do here. And, because you still got a lot of games to go here over these final 2 months. And look, you can trade every single game on Kalshi as well, which, we all know you absolutely can trade every single game there. And the Brewers, I mean, they're going to be coming back home here for a homestand as they get things going. So they were on West Coast for the road trip, and now they're going to be coming back. So you get some home cooking here for the Brewers as they're taking on the Pittsburgh Pirates for this series. So Pittsburgh Pirates trying to go for it as well here, but the Brewers do have the best record in baseball here at the trade deadline, and they are currently trading at a 56% chance to win this game here tonight, which means a $100 trade pays out $167 with a win. On Kalshi, you're trading against peers in a live market, meaning there's no house, and as the probability changes, you can buy in and out of your position. For a limited time, download the Kalshi app and use promo code FANARCHBASEBALL to get $10 when you trade 10, Kalshi, Kalshi, trade on anything. Okay. And you could have traded on where Tarek Skubal would have gone, and if you had put your money on the Dodgers, which, I mean, they were the favorites there on Kalshi, if you had put it on the Dodgers, congratulations, you win, because where else would he go? Of course it's the Los Angeles Dodgers. Of course. Of course. Well, why did any of us even bother getting our hopes up? I think I was even talking about this last week. It's like, look, we're getting all excited about it and, thinking like, oh, this is great. Maybe the Brewers have an actual shot here. And it was always going to be the Dodgers. Of course it was. And they always get to do it for a light return too, right? Like they have their prospects way hyped. They have 9 top 100 prospects somehow. They give up their 5th best prospect, and somehow, it's like, oh, that's a fantastic centerpiece for all this. And so Zahir Hope is the headliner. Again, their 5th best prospect, an outfielder in Double-A. And River Ryan is kind of the pitching headliner here, and this Brady Smith, whatever. So River Ryan is a 27, soon to be 28-year-old prospect that is somehow still ranked in the top 100, despite missing the last 2 years with Tommy John surgery and hamstring injuries. He made his MLB debut in 2024. He pitched for the Dodgers. And, then gets hurt, misses 2 years basically, and he's currently hurt. And the Tigers are accepting him as a headliner, or, like a co-headliner in this trade for Tarek Skubal. And they were saying, oh, we want this, ready-made replacement for our rotation, and we're demanding Logan Henderson for any of this in a trade with the Brewers. And you go from demanding Logan Henderson from the Brewers to accepting River Ryan from the Dodgers? Really? Really? That's what we're going with here? And then you get some guy down in A-ball as a projectable pitcher who's got an ERA of 5 or something. The equivalent for this would be maybe like Josh Adamszewski and, I don't know, Robert Gasser at best. And Ethan Dorchis, that's my comp for this. And it's like from all this talk about how, this is going to cost Luis Pena, this is going to cost potentially Jesus Mate and Logan Henderson, and you might have to throw in a Luis, you're going to have to throw in all this stuff. For the Brewers, every single projection was this is going to cost half their damn farm system. And for the Dodgers, it costs them nothing. They get away with their 5th best prospect, a basically 28-year-old pitcher who's been hurt for 2 years, and a guy in Class A that's got an ERA over 5. How in the world is this fair or equivalent? How do the Tigers look at this and say, oh yeah, that's totally the way that you want to go? And to make it 2 days before the actual trade deadline, it's beyond me, and it's sickening. It's really sickening to baseball fans to have to sit here and look at the Dodgers get Tarek Skubal and add him to a rotation that already has Shohei Ohtani, Yoshi Yamamoto, Blake Snell, Tyler Glasnow. Like it's already got the absolute monstars over there, and they're just going to add Tarek Skubal to it. It's absolutely insane to me. And then you're going to have all the Dodgers fans come at you and say, "Whoa, well, any team can do this." No, not any team can do this. Okay, and the Dodgers are not geniuses here. Okay, they got basically $1 trillion backing them in terms of their ownership group. They've got a sweetheart television rights deal where they don't have to share it all with MLB and revenue sharing. And so, like, they are just starting so far ahead of everyone else, and they can make financial blunders and sign guys to horrible contracts like Kyle Tucker because they can just make up for it elsewhere. They can trade away top prospects because they can just make up for it for signing other guys. They don't have to worry about it. They're not geniuses. It's like, oh, their scouting department is so phenomenal. Oh, really? There's such geniuses in that scouting department to say, oh, yes, we want Tarek Skubal. Yeah, it doesn't take a genius to do that. So it's an incredibly light return from what was expected here for Skubal. It's disappointing. I know some are mad at the Brewers themselves for not paying up for this, but it's like how much of this is the Brewers not willing to pay that, or just the valuation somehow of how they view Zahir Hope and River Ryan somehow so much better than what the Brewers could have. I mean, even if you're trying to sell them on Robert Gasser instead of Logan Henderson and trying to go a bit lighter there, or even a Coleman Crow, I think Coleman Crow is probably going to end up better than River Ryan, and it's just it boggles my mind that is what ends up going with. I think the Tigers are where the anger needs to be placed, not necessarily the Brewers front office, because I mean we also don't know what the Brewers were actually offering in this deal, but from the sounds of it, they were trying to be competitive in all of this, and it's just for him to go 2 days early and for this kind of return, it is mind-boggling to me. But the Dodgers continue to get away with it year after year. All right, so it is deadline day, though. You have to move on from Skubal. He is no longer there. What else are the Brewers going to do? What else do they have to do? Well, look, the trade that they made on Saturday with Yoho and Perkins going out, Naylor and Hoyer coming in, again, it really did not do much for this team. I don't think they improved their ball club at all with that trade. I don't think they did anything to impact it. So the whole to-do list is still kind of there. You need starting rotation help, okay? You need someone to kind of help form a big three there with Mizorowski and Kyle Harrison. You probably are going to use another reliever or two. I don't think Cody Hoyer is the answer there. I think you need to make another relief addition as well to this group, especially with Yoho out of the picture. Can you get some sort of impactful bat? Bo Naylor, again, not really an impactful bat. He certainly hasn't hit like that this year, and hasn't really been super impactful over his entire career as a bat. Yes, he has some pop, but you're not relying on Naylor much. So could you look elsewhere? Could you look at a third baseman and try and upgrade over Joey Ortiz, even though he's played well the last couple of weeks? I think that's the most obvious spot to look. I think that's the easiest spot to make an addition. But, even still, offense may be a bit further down on the need list than pitching. You got to get yourself another starting pitcher. Reports are that they are looking in that market, looking for rentals in that market. I wonder if Casey Mize is a potential name that they could be looking at. You look at, George Kirby, it sounds like a Seattle could be available. So, there are some names potentially out there where they could go. Freddie Peralta's gone. He's off the board. Kevin Gausman is off the board. He's gone to the Cubs. Not that he had a no trade clause to the Brewers anyways, but still. So you have, some options still out there for the Brewers, but they're going to have to act fast. There's going to be a lot of stuff happening hot and heavy today. We'll see how much the Brewers actually do, because they have the best record in baseball at the trade deadline. So you probably should do something to help reinforce this group. And the one trade that they made so far didn't really impact this group. So they got some work to do. We'll see how much they actually end up doing. I'll be breaking all of it down live throughout the day here on X at dgasper24, so be sure to be following me there. And then when we reconvene tomorrow for the show, we'll be breaking down everything that happened right here on Brewers Daily, so you're not going to want to miss that. Appreciate all of you watching and listening. Enjoy deadline day. Let's see the Brewers, try and get some stuff done. And we'll see you again next time for another episode of Brewers Daily.